What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie290 today coming at you live. Let's get into the power of the internet. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about YouTuber burnout, which is a topic that's been in the media now for a couple of months. But let me start off by saying I'm not talking about myself in this video. I'm not personally burnt out. I'm actually very energized right now. I'm really enjoying doing YouTube. I'm really enjoying doing Twitch. I'm really enjoying what I've been doing. And that's a bit of a turnaround. I have been burnt out before, but I'm definitely not right now. But we've been seeing some pretty famous YouTubers. Elle Mills is the one I'm featuring here, but we've also seen JackSepticEye, Bobby Burns, Casey Neistat, Felix. We've seen plenty of YouTubers talk about this stuff in the last year. And if you do a Google News search, you're going to see that this is a very popular topic for the media to talk about. It's going pretty much mainstream. Everyone's talking about YouTube burnout, so I thought I'd throw in my 2 cents. But I want to start off by addressing the elephant in the room. A lot of people who are doing YouTube for a living are living their dreams, their dream jobs. They wanted to be filmmakers, they wanted to be entertainers, they wanted to be famous, and they wanted to make money doing it, and now they are doing that. And I think almost every YouTube creator has felt a tremendous guilt complaining about the aspects of that life, of that job, because we often know that the audience has difficulty understanding that. But I'll remind everybody of the very old adage, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And it may not be what you wanted, and it may not be what you needed. And sometimes, almost always, there's a catch. And I think a lot of people equate this problem to money. You got to keep in mind, not every YouTuber is rich, and a lot of YouTubers are still working paycheck to paycheck. But for those who aren't, and they've eliminated money as a problem, a lot of the YouTubers I'm going to talk about today have eliminated money as a problem. If you know anything about life by now, you know that when you eliminate one problem, 4 or 5 other problems crop up in its place. That said, I could not be more grateful for the money. I mean, knowing that if I get sick, I can go to the doctor. If I need help, if I need to help somebody else, I can do it. I know that the mortgage is going to be paid, the electricity is always going to be on, and I'm going to be taken care of. It's really nice. It's really, it's a load off for sure. But going back to Elle Mills, she said something that really struck me that I think is really interesting. And if you haven't seen her video on the topic, I highly recommend it. It's called Burnout at 19, and I think you'll really enjoy the video. Give it a search here on YouTube and watch it if you get a chance. That video shows a young girl in a very raw state, very agitated, very frustrated, very depressed, very anxious. I've never seen anything like it on YouTube. I am fairly transparent here on YouTube, and I've never thought to film myself in that state, and I'm so proud that she did. But Elle Mills expressed a point that I think a lot of YouTubers feel. We feel kind of enslaved by the YouTube algorithm, knowing that sometimes if we take a month off, or even sometimes just a week off, we don't create content every day or every week, or at least a couple of times a month, that the YouTube algorithm will definitely become frustrated. And if we don't create our best content as frequently as it can, our audience can become frustrated, and that tips off the algorithm that we're no longer creating good content. So the entire thing can fall like a house of cards or like a stack of dominoes, and it's really scary, and I think that's the biggest part of the pressure that Elle was feeling. Elle Mills said, I definitely was feeling drained because I was trying to pump out an amazing video once every 2 weeks or like once every week. That's just not attainable, especially with the hours that goes into each video. Now sure, there's plenty of YouTubers like me who sit down in a day, we have a script idea in our head, we film for like an hour and a half, we edit for another hour, then we publish it and put it out into the world, and so it's a fairly easy turnaround. But if you look at what YouTubers like Shear's doing, my God, the amount of effort she was putting into the videos, like when she tried to lift her childhood home up by balloons. I mean, come on. And then you get into the cycle where every video needs to be better, or at least as good as the last one. So the more effort you put in, the more effort you have to put in moving forward. And then in the case of this young lady, not only was she doing like brand deals, not only was she doing appearances, she was touring to meet her fans on top of filming. I can't imagine. She was probably pulling 70, 80, 90-hour work weeks with travel in between the works. I can't imagine. Of course she got burnt out. Of course she got burnt out. But even for YouTubers who are creating content that might be a little less difficult to create than what Elle was creating, let's take JackSepticEye, for example, it can be fairly crushing still. And last month we saw Jack talk about this stuff, and I want to talk about Jack a little bit now. In Jack's video, he basically said that the pressure of creating the same content over and over every day was getting to him, and that he just needed a break from it, and he knew that that might upset his audience, it might upset the YouTube algorithm, but it was a risk he was willing to take. In Jack's video, he said, my mental health has not been in the best place recently, so the reason I've been taking more time off is because I have to. I need to take the time off to get my brain back in order, to just get that energy and that motivation back to record the videos. I could have forced myself through it to try and make videos from when it's done, but it's just not worth it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jack is in a position where he can afford financially to take that time off. And when it comes to his stardom, people are not going to forget that JackSepticEye exists. If he takes a month off to take a vacation, to skip a paycheck, when he comes back, his audience is going to be so excited they're back. Jack is in a very privileged position where he can do that. Just like when I was working paycheck to paycheck, and just like you are probably working from paycheck to paycheck now, when we get burnout, not everybody can do that. And that's true for a lot of YouTubers who are still living paycheck to paycheck. They count on that month's YouTube check to pay the rent, to pay the electricity, to pay the internet bill that allows them to upload to begin with. And there's people who are stuck in that stage for 2, 3, 5, 10 years of their career who may never break out of that. You can imagine the pressure they're dealing with. Jack also said, there's times when I don't leave my house. For the last 2 weeks, I don't think I've left my house at all to go do anything. I don't really like doing that, and it gets to you after a while. Doing the same video over and over again kind of weighs you down. It really hits on something here that I think a lot of people don't realize, is that when you're working a 9-to-5 job, and when you get off at 5:30, 6 o'clock, maybe you check a few emails in a night, but you're pretty much done for the day, especially if you're working menial labor like I did with washing dishes or working security up at the Hyper building here at the university. When you go home from work, chances are the rest of the day belongs to you. You might have a family, you might have kids that you're worrying about, but for the most part, you probably get a little bit of time to focus on that part of your life. But when you're your own boss, when you're your own creator, when you run your small business, it can consume you. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you do nothing but eat, sleep, and breathe and drink the thing that you are doing. And I think that becomes true for a lot of successful YouTubers. You strike while the iron's hot, and the iron is hot now, so you're going to go without sleep. You go without anything. You go without any self-care so that you can focus on doing the job, pleasing the people who watch you, and making the money while you can. I have felt that pressure so much that even when I was recovering from a gastric bypass surgery, I was afraid to not have videos to go live on the channel. I was afraid to not create new videos. I created a video 5 days after the surgery. And even when I was going through my divorce, I was still uploading 3 or 4 nights a week, streaming 3 or 4 nights a week. I wasn't even willing to take the time to self-care during my divorce because I'm so focused on this job. And it's true for most YouTubers who are successful. All of this, though, reminds me of a story that I've been wanting to tell here on YouTube for a while. When I first started doing web design, I met a fellow webmaster who was very, very successful, designed a website that made him about $1 million in his first year in business. And him and I used to work together all the time. We would talk about stuff all the time. He tried to help me out all the time. And then just one day I noticed he didn't log back into the chat program we used for like a few months, and I never knew what happened to him. When he finally did log back in, I asked him what happened, and he said that he had had a heart attack. At the age of 24, he had been working 20-hour weeks. He'd been abusing caffeine to try to stay awake so that he can continue to work, to strike while the iron is hot, to make as much money as he could, as quickly as he could. And he didn't have health insurance. So he ended up spending the mass majority of the money he'd made just trying to stay alive. And then on top of that, his websites all went offline, but he was too sick in the hospital to take care of himself. And pretty much everything he'd built had crumbled within a year. And there's a lesson that I learned from that I still employ in my life to this day, that I think every YouTuber or everybody out there working 2 jobs or everybody who's breaking their back to put bread on the table for their family can learn. And I want to share that lesson with you now. You never know when you're going to die. You never know when you're going to get sick. You never know when you're going to get fired. You never know when everything you are building will crumble. That very well could happen tomorrow, but it could also happen 10, 15, 20 years down the road from now too. Because you never know what is going to happen or how it's going to happen, you have to make sure that every single day counts. And that means even on your busiest days, you need to take a couple of hours out to enjoy the stuff that you enjoy. Maybe it's video games, maybe it's a movie, maybe it's a TV show, maybe it's taking your dog for a walk, getting some exercise, doing something like that. And if the job that you do every day is something that you enjoy, you should probably still find something outside of that to do so that you don't get burnout. I also do something I think a lot of people can afford to do, but I pick one day a week, and that's Saturday, to spend with my friends, to spend with my family, to focus on things that only I enjoy. I don't worry about the job. I don't worry about the business. I don't check email. I don't answer phone calls. I don't check social media. I just let that day be about me. And sometimes I do it just here in my house and play video games and invite my friends here. Sometimes to go to my local gaming store. Sometimes I travel, but I try to spend at least one day a week focused on self-care. And I think everyone should be doing that. But I personally am really grateful that a lot of other YouTubers are starting to talk about this. They're starting to talk about mental health. They're starting to talk about the difficulties of this job. And it seems like the audiences are finally starting to come around. A lot of the times when people talked about this stuff a few years ago, you'd see a lot of pushback, almost exclusively pushback. Now you're starting to see a lot of audience members understand and relate and get it. And I think it's because so many of these YouTubers are so incredible, so charismatic, and they do a much better job of explaining it than I ever could. But I'm really, really grateful. But I'm curious as to what you think. Do you think Jack and Elle and these other creators, including myself, are just idiots for not loving what we're doing? Do you guys understand the burnout? Do you understand the stress? Let me know in the comments section below. But a long time ago, when I was studying to be a therapist, a psychologist, could you imagine? They were trying to teach me a very important lesson. And they said, when you're dealing with someone who may have been beaten or tortured or hurt in very bad ways, and you're dealing with that patient for your 1 o'clock appointment, and then your 2:30 appointment comes in, and it's a rich lady who lives a life of privilege, who's upset because her and her husband aren't having as good a sex as they would like. How do you relate to that person? How do you understand that person after dealing with somebody who's suicidal just an hour before? The answer to that question is empathy and relative pain. You have to understand that this privileged young lady who's lived a life of luxury, her worst day is her worst day to her. And even if her worst day is objectively better than my worst day, it doesn't really matter because it's still her worst day. And it would be my job as a therapist to help her through it. And I hope that you can understand it might be your job as an audience member to help Jack through his. But just let me say, you guys have definitely helped me through mine, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. Guys, as always, thanks for watching this video. Leave a comment and let me know what you thought about it. Let me know what you think about this style of videos. I'm changing up my style a little bit, and I hope that you do like the change. While you're down there, feel free to subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to. But otherwise, I'm just glad that you watched. And guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.